my channel, the home of all things photography. This week we're doing a bit more Lego photography, but what we're going to be doing is something slightly different. I'm actually going to go out and about and photograph the Lego in situ out in my local woodland. Now I hear you asking what Lego we're going to be building this week. Well, we're going to be building the Lego TIE Fighter, this in fact. What I want to do is build up the scene in my local woodland, and I want it to be like the TIE Fighter's crashed and it's started to merge back into the landscape, nature taking it over. So I think it's going to be quite a cool little project to do. So let's not waste any more time with waffle, let's just crack straight on and start building the Lego. Okay, so great. I've come down to my local woodland and I'm going to find a nice little spot where we can have our crashed TIE Fighter. I'm ideally looking for somewhere that's got a little bit of background, so maybe some small tree branches, maybe some moss, something that I can create that effect as if it's been crashed in the woodlands for a long time. So let's not talk on too much, let's go and find that ideal spot. Okay, so I scouted around a little bit for a nice area where I can take my shot, and I found a nice little rotten wooden stump here that I think is going to make a nice little backdrop to my image. So what I'm going to do now is start preparing my TIE Fighter and essentially sink it into the ground a little bit to make it look like it's crashed. And then what I'm going to do is start setting up my composition. So let's not talk anymore, let's simply go clear the area a little bit and start preparing that TIE Fighter for the shot. Okay, so here's the model we're going to be using today. Now the first thing I need to do is to simply start digging a little bit of a well to place this inside. And what I'm thinking of doing is removing one of these wings, and that way looking as if one of the rings has essentially rusted away and fallen away from the main part of the craft as nature has reclaimed it. Okay, so let's start to dig the little well to place the model, and then we can start building up our composition. So now what I basically did was I started to clear an area of the ground with my trowel. I dug out some of the mud, not a lot, not as much as you'd think you'd need to, and I just put that to one side to save it. Once that was done, I then sunk the TIE Fighter into the ground and then used some of this loose material to pack around it so that there was less of a well and it just looked like the TIE Fighter had been having the ground reclaim it for a long time. Next, I found some moss on the floor of the woodland and I used this to pack in around my TIE Fighter so that it created a bit more depth and a bit more of that illusion that the TIE Fighter had been sunk into the ground for a long time. So we've now got a TIE fighter sort of semi-buried into the ground, and as you can see I've used some moss and lichen and these kinds of things, just things I found near the area, just to sort of blend it into the background or into the ground. So the next thing we need to do is probably add a little bit of foreground interest. So what I was going to use, this little dude here, have him sort of standing in the foreground, and I'm hoping to have him holding a torch as if he's stumbled across this crashed TIE fighter. Next, I positioned a small piece of mossy wood in my foreground. This was just to give a little bit of a ridge, as if my stormtrooper was standing on it. And then I used matchsticks in the legs of my stormtrooper just to help hold him into position. So there we have it. Now we've got our TIE fighter, which is buried in the mud of the forest. It's been there for a while, rotting away. We've got the stormtrooper who stumbled across it. Maybe he's got separated from his battalion. No lights, no torch. He's using a traditional wooden torch, or a match in this case. So next thing we want to do is bring in a little bit of atmosphere and possibly add in a little bit of extra background. So maybe push in some extra twigs and stuff into the background just to give it a little bit of extra depth. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to start adding some atmosphere, and I'm going to add in a little bit of extra depth into the background to create a bit more of a foresty feel, and then I'm probably going to take the shot. So let's not talk anymore, let's just crack straight on and finish setting up our scene. To stop the matchstick falling out of my stormtrooper's hand, I literally just wrapped a small piece of paper around it. For the area of backdrop that was looking a little bit empty, I simply collected up some branches that were laying on the floor of the forest or the woodland and literally sunk them into the ground. It'd been raining quite a lot, and as you can see they pushed in really easily, and this just really helped add an element of depth to the image. So to add a bit of atmosphere to my shot, I'm going to use one of these. I don't want to use my smoke matches in the middle of a woodland, so what I'm going to do, it's like a little mini nano mister. It's meant for facials, but as you can see it gives off quite a lot of mist or smoke. So I'm going to use that to add the atmosphere around my shot. I think that could look quite cool. And what I will also do, I think, is use my light to have almost a bit of a backlight coming in through the trees. So let's see how that looks. Let's start getting that set up. So there we go, we've got our model set up. We've added a little bit of extra lighting just to add some highlights, and we've added in some sticks and logs into the background just to make it appear more like a woodland. We've added the nano mister for the atmosphere, and what I've also done is plugged in my shutter release cable, because what I want to do is I just take multiple shots as I add in the smoke. This way I can either blend several shots together or just choose the best one from the bunch. So I think now we're pretty much ready to take the shot. All that's left to do is light the torch for the stormtrooper, and I think we're ready to go. So let's go take that shot. Great, so we've now taken the shot. All that's left now to do is to put it up on screen. Now why don't you let me know in the comments if you like it. Thank you very much. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed myself, and it was nice getting out and about and setting up the scene on set as it was, rather than setting it all up on my dining table. If you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a big thumbs up and maybe leave a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts. But anyway, that's enough from me for this week. Take care and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.